waiting for your call. The James Whale Radio Show.
I want to know what you think about immigration into this country.
From?
Any country, anywhere.
Any country.
Yes. Trying to leave black and white particularly out of it. What do you think of immigration coming into this country?
I don't expect too much.
Into your country?
Into India.
No, you were born here, were you?
Yeah, I was born
you're born
here.
here. So this is your country?
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about immigration
It's a bit too much over it. The old people on the dole and all this sort of thing. They can't take care of the people as it is.
What do you think about immigration into this country?
Don't agree with it.
Why not?
Because I don't agree with it.
Yeah, but why not?
That's my personal reason.
Well, your personal reason is you don't agree with it?
No, I don't agree with it.
No?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, is there? They come and fought with us along during the war. Why should we turn them away at any time?
Don't let them in. Keep them out.
Why?
There's not enough work for our people, is there?
What do you do?
Nothing.
You're making a big mistake, really.
Wow.
You're bringing it into a racist question. I didn't ask you anything about colour.
Well,
I
he's
just
saying
asked
keep
you.
him out.
Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a pillock. I mean,
Who's
I'm
a bleeding pillock?
I'm asking
You are. I'm a pillock.
Yeah, of course you are.
Hey,
What do you think, guys, of immigration?
Ne comprendo.
461000. He's waiting for your call now.
Okay, now, views on immigration. Let's go straight to the calls. Emma from Bognor Regis. Emma.
Hi, James. Do you think British people might ever need to seek foreign refuge?
British people, Emma, seek foreign refuge, if you want to put it that way, all the time. In fact, I think, I'm not sure of the figures, but I think probably more people emigrated from this country last year than actually came into it. Why? Do you want to go somewhere?
Not particularly.
No? Well, you don't mind if people come into this country, surely?
No, of course not. But
Fine, that's great, thank you. Right, now, Stephen from Dagenham in Essex. Stephen. Hello, Stephen?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Stephen.
Hello. Right, okay, you're not talking about the actual colour people coming into this country.
It's got nothing to do with the colour of your
Right.
skin. We're talking about immigration. It could come from anywhere.
Yes,
It could come
of
from
course.
Poland, it could come from America, it could come from Canada, anywhere you like.
Yes, okay. Right, about even London. Now, when people actually come over from London on their tour, and
What are you talking about, Stephen? I'm really not with you at all.
Right.
This isn't a BBC programme. We'd like you to make your point succinctly, right?
Yes. Now, there's more people over here from...
You don't have a difficulty with the way I speak, do you?
No, definitely not.
Cecil, thank you.
Right, you are. Okay.
What?
Right, what I was going to say is, there's more people over here from the foreign, from the other countries, and there's more people actually owning shops and businesses and...
Do you have a shop, Stephen?
Sorry?
Do you have a shop?
No, I don't.
Do you have a wish to buy a shop?
Well, I have actually thought about it in the past.
Good. Well, I wish you luck in that. I don't understand what that has to do with it at all, really. Now, with me is Mike Shaft. Mike is the boss of Sunset Radio. Is that right, Mike?
Yes, it is.
Mike, of course, well-known television presenter with Open Air last year.
Yeah, it's a bit like this, isn't it, John?
It's quite nice, isn't it? Now, Mike, Sunset Radio is one of a number of radio stations set up now that broadcast primarily to immigrants to this country.
Ethnic communities, we call it.
Do you think that actually ethnic communities or communities of minority groups is a good idea? Do you think there should be perhaps more integration in this country than there is?
Well, I've often said that, you know, had the established stations done what was right, you know, and looked after the ethnic communities, there would be no need for a radio station like Sunset. And had radio stations like this one and Piccadilly in Manchester and Capital in London, you know, had the programmes and treated the ethnic minorities with respect, there would be no need for specialist radio stations.
Now, you emigrated to this country how long ago?
1968.
Did you have any difficulty?
No, my father had been here for about 8 years before that. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about this in a few moments, but in the best open-air tradition, we've asked Mike to read the letters tonight in our mail spot. Mike.
Yes, we've had some fun ones. This first one from Martin Hill-Jones from Swansea says, when I first tuned into your programme about a year ago, I celebrated the programme content and would have phoned to congratulate you if only I could have gotten through. Things have changed, though. The subject matter on most of your programmes has become flippant. Your aggressive bigotry has scaled new heights. Unfortunately, this has become your modus operandi. You even treat your hapless bimbos with the disdain of a megalomaniac harem usher. You've become something of an iconoclast, hailed by the quasi-intelligentsia, and you won't have trouble with that, as the epitome of today's man. In short, James, you've become lightweight. Ivor Wright Arden from Walthamstow says, firstly, may I say how much I enjoy watching your show every Friday night, and secondly, can't you do something about those pillocks at LWT who keep cutting you short so they can show some pathetic American crap which they've wasted their money on?
Actually, we must say that listeners in London tonight are getting us in stereo as well as listeners in Yorkshire, so it's nice. That's very good. Thank you for that.
Liz and Emily from Ipswich dropped us a line. They said, like you, we're also rude, ill-mannered, bad-tempered and good at cutting people off the phone. Sadly, we're not middle-aged, balding, and need glasses.
That's not
But
nice.
I'm sure we'd get on just fine anyway.
Mike, thank you for that for the moment. We've got one last letter here that came in last week's programme, which was on the size of the feet and the size of the... and a bloke wrote in, I can't actually read this letter, but he did make a point and asked for suggested names. But I think you will find that Fanny, which is an old English, Victorian sort of name, actually covers this subject, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. These are the Mission. There we are, the new video from Mission and Deliverance. Now, another in our occasional series of On the Bog. Now, a man on the bog this week who has, in his new book, Labour's Livingstone, got quite a lot to say on the subject of immigration. Ken, are you there?
Yes.
Ken, a lot of people have said to us they don't believe that we actually have these celebrities on the bog when we do this feature. Can you prove to us that it is you?
Yes.
Ah, yes, yes, I think it might be.
Now Easy James Will, you are the dance. So Easy James Will, you know, style and pattern. So Easy James Will, you are the champion. You flash it for the people all over the land.
Now, welcome back. We were actually going to have a larger audience than this, but you may hear some yelling in the background. There's a crowd of some people who've put some of the guests who are going to come in on the programme tonight off coming in. And we're very sorry about that, but we still have with us Ken Livingstone and Tony Marlowe, MPs from the Labour Party and the Tory Party, and I don't think I need to tell you which is which, really. Let's start off with Ken. Ken, do you have any views that there should be some sort of legislation as far as immigration is concerned, or do you think it should be a free-for-all?
No, I think we should go back to the situation that was there right up until the First World War, which is that people are free to go backwards and forwards across the world as they want. Yeah. I don't think that the whole range of immigration controls we've got are anything other than unfair. Whoever's operating them ends up biased against one group or another. And at the end of the day, if we're honest about it, people come from one country, go to one country. I mean, I had people come to my advice surgery in London complaining that people come from the north to get jobs and so on. Half the people that live in London have been born somewhere else. The world these days is very cosmopolitan. I think one of our fundamental rights should be people move around as they want. I spent 20 years arguing with the right of Jews to leave the Soviet Union. Why should we object to the fact that perhaps people from the Indian subcontinent want to come here to join friends and
I
relatives?
was actually told, because of course there's been a terrific Jewish immigration into the... just a moment again for a moment. You see, we have these people outside just demonstrating their stupidity. If they were at home watching the programme, they'd know what we were talking about, instead of behaving like juvenile delinquents outside. So we'll try and carry on. I did have a call from somebody who said, well, you've got that Ken Livingstone on, he's very anti-Jewish. You know, he sits at the table with members of the PLO and he doesn't approve of Jews immigrating to Britain.
Yes, I mean, there were people 70 years ago said that Jews coming to Britain were going to change Britain and it was an alien tide. Now, no one would say Jews shouldn't be allowed into Britain. I mean, no one would want the Jews that are here to be sent back somewhere else. They're 3, 4 generations on. And every nation changes all the time. You can't unravel what we are in Britain. My father was Scottish, my mother's from London. In a different time,
You're just an old
I would have been an alien, you know.
Let me move on to Tony Marlowe. Tony, you've been quoted as saying we've had a multicultural, multiracial society forced upon us. I mean, this may or may not be true, but I mean, not many of us are really bothered, are we?
I think most people are bothered, but what Ken said to start with is very naive. There are millions of people in less fortunate countries, the United Kingdom, in the East, in the Indian subcontinent, Indonesia, all that part of the world, who want to come here. Travel is relatively cheap. If we had no control on immigration, literally millions of people would come here for the benefits of our way of life. So we've got to have some control.
What sort of people would you actually let into this country then? What sort of people should be allowed to come here? Or should nobody be allowed to come here?
Well, we've given a commitment, the Conservative Party, in the last 5 election campaigns that would be no more significant major migration of people of different cultures, basically.
What do you mean of different cultures? You mean Asian, African people, or do you mean?
I think that people of different backgrounds, people of different homelands, people of different
Canadians
cultures.
would be okay, Australians.
Well, I mean, the rules that we have to be fair and level throughout. But
I mean, we are a multiracial society.
No. Can you listen to me as well? I mean, you listen to
multiracial society at the moment, aren't we?
We are
We're not going to
multiracial
change from that. Do we want to change from that?
Well, I don't think we want to change from what we've got at the moment, but I don't think we want to develop further in that direction. There are about 3 million people of different cultures and backgrounds in this country. By and large, we get on well at the moment. But you go further, you have trouble. There are parts of the country already which effectively seem to have been colonised. I mean, parts of Bradford seem to be colonised. Parts of Leicester seem to be colonised by people who don't really owe allegiance to this country. They don't go along with our way of life. They don't see themselves as being British.
Well,
and I think it would be a dreadful mistake.
That is the fault of the white British for not actually making people feel a lot more welcome in this country. Perhaps that's our fault. Perhaps we should try and go out and make people feel less
Tony. We colonised a third of the world.
You let Ken have 2 or 3 minutes straight off. If I can answer your question. I don't really mind whose fault it is. Maybe a lot of people should have done things better than they have done in the past. But I think man is a tribal animal. Yes, all right, we've got a balance that we can cope with.
Certainly this lot out of here seem tribal.
Well, they are a tribe, aren't they? Yeah. We've got a balance that we can cope with at the moment. Don't push it. The vast majority of the people of this country do not actually want a multicultural society. A multiracial society, fine, that's what we've got. They don't want any more mass immigration. And as a responsible Democrat, as a Member of Parliament, I believe I should go along with what the majority of the people of this country want.
One of the issues at the moment, of course, that's causing a lot of people to talk about immigration is the possibility of a lot of people coming from Hong Kong in 1997. So, a little earlier on this week, we went over to the second largest, well, just watch this, and perhaps that's not going to shut up while we're listening to this film report. Here. Well, where do you think I am? Downtown Chinatown, New York? No, the rain gave it away, really. This is Manchester's Chinatown, the second largest Chinese community in the United Kingdom. And at the moment, everybody's talking about the possibility of thousands of Chinese immigrating into this country when Hong Kong reverts to Chinese ownership. But what do the Chinese community here themselves think about the possibility? Let's have a little food, shall we? You know, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, in this world, avoid entering the office of a government official, as in death, you would avoid entering hell. I don't know what it means either. I wonder if we can find out. Right, well, with me are 4 leading members of the Chinese community in Manchester, and I thought it would be interesting to find out what their views are on the proposed immigration of Chinese Hong Kong to this country. With me is Amy Lay, who's the director of Chinese View Art Centre in Manchester. All right?
Yes, it's the first one in UK.
First one in the UK.
And in fact in Europe as well.
Eddie Lowe, who is an accountant. And over here we have Harry Young, whose restaurant this is. Yes?
Yes.
And he's got big feet, by the way. And Stephen Tan, who is an agent and leading member of Manchester's Chinese community.
against the work or not.
I see. Let me start off with Amy. Do you think that the problems that everybody perceives of the Chinese, Hong Kong Chinese coming into this country will ever happen or not?
I don't personally think it's a great problem, because if you think about the people who the British government would like to welcome them, they would be the people already involved business. And secondly, they will have very, very much a high professional level people. They speak English, they have a higher education, they used to very, very much competitive city life. And so I don't think any problem about that.
Stephen, other communities living here, Afro-Caribbean, Asian communities, do you think they will resent the possible special treatment that the Chinese will get?
I don't think so. I think they are encouraging us to be more vocal in our requirements and in fighting for our basic existence. The thing is that we are not a politically very active community in this country, nor are we a very strongly organized.
Or even strongly
community.
Religious in many ways.
Not religious nor political sense. And so therefore it's difficult to fight for your own corner as such. Because they are going to bring wealth and finance and resources into wherever they go into.
That's interesting. So Eddie, you're the accountant, do you think that more wealth and more resources would come with more Chinese immigrants?
Oh, definitely. They are pretty well off as it is. After all, Hong Kong is such an affluent society. They're quite used and highly cosmopolitan. And these people are quite used to mixing with people from almost anywhere in the world.
What about housing? Where, I mean, supposing we do get 250,000 people, where are they going to live?
We don't beg for social welfare. Simply, we never brought up with the social welfare. That's why we never expected. They would buy rented places instead of waiting for social security. And secondly, and they work very hard and they're so adaptive. And in fact, Chinese community is the most integrating community from Home Office survey report. Chinese spread out everywhere, but because they spread so thinly, nobody noticing them.
But they won't be spreading Harry, will they, so thinly if maybe 250,000 come over here. And the consensus opinion is that the people who are going to come over here are going to be the people with the money. So rather than being able to supply you with a bigger workforce, maybe they're going to set up in competition against you. Now, this must give you a little
No, I'm not worried about the competition. If there's no competition, it won't work.
Yeah.
I prefer plenty more coming.
You do?
I do.
Stephen, isn't it fair to say that the Chinese investment is always kept within the Chinese community itself?
I don't think so. I think that is a myth and a misunderstanding rather than the truth. The thing is that no community, no ethnic community can live alone on their own selves. They have to be interdependent with the greater society around them. They have to be a member of the greater society in the country they choose to live in. And they have to play their part right in contribution towards the building of wealth of that country. And we are here, our loyalty lies quite clear, is towards the United Kingdom. Although we are not English as such, we are very British in our outlook. And it got to do with our upbringing and possibly with our education. We treat this country possibly as our stepmother.
Okay, keep the phone calls coming in. We'll be back with calls a little later on, but now let's talk to some of the audience. And I wonder if I can start down here with this young lady who is Rahana, is that right? Now, Rahana, your husband isn't allowed to come into this country.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody why?
They're saying that, I'm a disabled person, right? And why did you marry a disabled person? So how do I feel this? I feel really shocked.
Yeah.
They say, why did he marry a disabled? She could marry a normal person. So what do you feel about this? What do you feel about that?
This young lady here, because she's disabled, whoever decides on whether people should be allowed into this country have said the only reason her husband married her was because she's disabled, and the only reason he married her was to come into this country. What sort of mentality people like that have?
So
when did you last see your husband?
Last Christmas.
Last Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, we've got some people up here. You're from the Monday Club, is that right? You're not from the Monday Club. Who's from the Monday Club?
I am.
You're from the Monday Club. Right. Tell me, what do you think about immigration into this country?
Well, I think, to be fair, we should have a total block on all immigration into the country.
What for?
Because I think our culture is being destroyed, and I think people who want to be British should be allowed to live a British lifestyle.
Look, that sounds very racist to me. I mean, are you saying that you only want white people in this country?
No, I said no immigration, no people, whether they're white or black, doesn't matter. We just don't want them.
You don't? We don't? What do you mean we don't want them? What about this young lady's husband?
Well, I mean, there are individual cases.
So you would think her husband should come in?
Well, from what I've heard, yes.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, would anybody disagree with that?
Yes, I would.
You would?
Yes, I would.
Who are you?
Well, I'm just one of the group here. But
yeah, are you in the Monday Club?
No, yes, but if you let me just say a word there, about that lady, what I would say there briefly is this. There's nothing, in fact, the point is, she could be coming in, as they said, into this country. She could be marrying him just for that purpose, with which I would disagree.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry, I would disagree.
Why are you such a miserable old sod?
I'm sorry, I disagree with that just the same.
Shut
Oh, I'm sorry,
up. Shut up. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Well, I mean, surely Ken and Tony, both as MPs, I mean, why can't something be done about this? Why should this woman's husband...
Because all our immigration laws are racist. I've got about 10 cases at any one time, exactly like this, where someone's married someone abroad. If you marry a white person, someone from Canada, Australia, America, you get in virtually within weeks. If you marry someone who's black, from Africa or the Indian subcontinent, you might wait 3 or 4 years. And that is sickening.
Let me ask you this question.
There's an answer.
Tony,
There is a reason for that.
Let me ask you this question,
Right.
Tony. If this young lady was white, now I don't want this to become a racist argument. I want to know about immigration. But if this young lady was white, would she have any trouble in getting her husband in?
Well, the answer to Ken Livingstone's point is that there are pressure from certain parts of the world for people to come in illegally. For other parts of the world, there are not those pressures to come in illegally. We've discussed that in the first part. As far as this young lady is concerned, she may have a genuine case. It is very difficult because you can't know the details of the background of somebody's case. Other people have looked at it carefully. They may be right, they may be wrong. I'm not talking about this young lady's case, but in similar cases, one asks the question, if husband and wife are kept apart, why doesn't the wife go and join the husband? Why should it all move in this direction?
Okay, we'll come back and find out the answer to that and take some more of your calls after the break.
Out support the James Whale Radio Show! Out support the James Whale Radio Show!
Right, a little musical interlude now. Before that, let me remind you, next week's programme is a very interesting one, a totally different subject. We'll be talking about virginity. Any views you have on virginity, whether you are or aren't, and whether it was a pleasurable or not such a pleasurable experience, then I'd like you to write and let us know. That has got nothing to do with Jeffrey Williams, I hasten to add, all right? Well, I don't know. Now, last week we had the River City People on the programme, and it was pleasing to see that their new single had gone straight in at number 62, all right? Jeffrey Williams is here. He's going to perform his new single. Is it in the charts? It's not in the charts yet, is it? Not yet. It's not in the charts yet, but it will be after you hear this. Fantastic. It's called Blue. Take it away. Now, you may remember last week we had that big thing on feet, and we're giving away this wonderful Clairol foot spa, okay? The winner is, we asked you, what does the condition Ostler's toe mean? And, of course, the answer was, not many of you knew this, but it was mean that, you know, if a horse stands on your toe, that's Ostler's toe. K.R. Wilkes from Great Bar in Birmingham is the winner, and we'll be sending it off to you. Right, we're going to get on with the programme. We'll do a competition back on the show next week, but not for this week. Let's go back to our audience. I wonder, actually, if we can take a few phone calls before we go any further. Gordon from Milton Keynes. Hello, Gordon.
Hi, James. How you going?
I'm all right, Gordon. Lift your legs up, you lot, and let me pull this out from here.
Right.
Right, Gordon, what can we do for you?
Yes, mate. I'm not against immigration at all.
You're not against immigration at all?
But if you bear in mind, about 3 or 4 weeks ago,
yeah,
you done a programme on homelessness people in London.
Yes.
Don't you think that it might be a good idea if the government took stock of that and looked after those for a while?
Okay, well, that's an interesting point. Perhaps I can come back to Tony Marlowe. I mean, there is an enormous amount of homelessness at the moment. Is that going to be helped by the government at all or not?
Certainly the government's got a programme at the moment for dealing with homelessness. There's a radical initiative being taken. It is a problem, and the government has not only intends to do something, but certainly is doing something about it at the moment.
But does that mean, does immigration fuel this problem, Ken?
No, the reason we've got a major homelessness problem is the government's cut council housing by a vast sum. If we want to tackle the problem of homelessness, it's not related to immigration, it's the fact the government isn't spending on building council housing.
OK, let's talk to Billy from Lincoln. Hello, Billy.
James?
Yes, Billy, can you speak up?
Yeah, I'm just bringing on the point. The other week I took one of my friends to a local match at Lincoln City Football Club, and he was actually amazed at the way there was taunts at coloured spectators and actually players on the pitch. Like,
but what has that got to do, Billy, with immigration?
Well...
Nothing, thank you. I wonder we'll come over here. We've got Tony Murphy, is that right over here? Now, Tony is the Yorkshire representative. Can we not lean on the windows out there? You're making a spectacle of yourselves as it is. Just try and relax a little. Tony is the Yorkshire chairman of the 1922 committee, is that right?
No, the Monday Club.
The Monday Club, sorry, the Monday. I knew I'd get that wrong. The 1922 are slightly more respectable, I see, OK. Right, the Monday Club. Now, I've been told the Monday Club is just a bunch of fascist whatsits, but is that not so?
Not at all, no. We actually face up to the responsibility that we are no longer a colonial power, and we simply do not have the resources in this country to take in a further large-scale influx of immigrants.
Yes, but over the history of this country, Tony, we have gone around and we've stamped our mark all over the world. When Britain insisted on having an empire, we owe a certain number of people in this world more than we seem to be prepared to give to them, surely.
Not necessarily, no. We developed a lot of countries.
We developed a lot of countries by bringing in slavery, by working out...
For instance, we introduced tea into India.
Yes, and we introduced concentration camps into South Africa.
And opium into China.
Very good point.
It's interesting that Ken Livingstone is advocating a totally free market policy in labour force with no borders. I wonder what his comments would be on the fact that the country that has the toughest immigration rules is in fact India, and a lot of people here who want to return to India are unable to do so.
Well, let me just check with some of our Asian friends in the audience today. Is there anybody here who would like to go back? I mean, whether you're from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, or are you quite happy here? Do any of you want to go back and you can't, for instance?
I think one of the points, I would like to make that we are British and we're here to stay.
Right.
And I want to make that absolutely clear.
You're agreeing with that?
Yes, well, we accept that.
Yeah.
You know, we accept that the people here are British and that they stay here. We're not talking about...
Right, OK. So you're not threatening anybody? You're not suggesting you would have forced repatriation?
No, what we're saying is this country is now a medium-sized power, and we simply do not have the resources to take in a large-scale influx of immigrants.
Do you agree? Now, this is Abu, right?
Yeah.
Abu, do you agree
that
perhaps there should be a level of immigration for everybody's sake?
Well, primary immigration was stopped in 1971, and what's been happening is there's been a continuous discrimination against people who are trying to bring their families who have a legitimate right to come into this country, and they've been stopped. I mean, if you want to bring, if a white girl wants to bring a husband from, say, Australia, all she has to prove is de facto relationship. She doesn't even have to be married.
So what you're saying is, I was trying to get away from making this into a racist discussion, that it is actually a racial problem, that if you were, we mentioned, I'm sorry to come back to you, but if you were white and your husband was white, you'd have no problem.
No problem at all. I mean, Rehanna's husband and Lucky's husband, they were asked between about 100 to 200 questions, and it's more of an interrogation process rather than an interview to determine whether they have the right to come or not.
Mike, how do you feel about this? I mean, the West Indian community quite often don't seem to have a lot of the problems that the Asian immigrants have, do they?
In fact, they do. They do. Coming from Jamaica and coming from the West Indies causes an awful lot of problems at the moment. I was at a meeting last night where it was discussed with the Jamaican High Commissioner, and they were asked, the Jamaican High Commissioner was asked if she could look into some of the problems that Jamaicans are finding coming to this country, even just on holiday. They say they want to come here for 2 or 3 weeks, and there are serious problems at the airport, and that is a ridiculous state of affairs.
What do you think people in this country are frightened of?
I don't know. I really don't know. I have to say the media doesn't help, because the media continually shows black people in negative roles, and it's not surprising that white people think, that all black people are rapists.
I don't think that West Indian, and maybe difficulty in travelling from one side to the other. But the West Indian population is basically fairly stable. Some people come in and some people go out. The problem is the population from the Asian subcontinent. We're talking about bringing husbands here and so on and so forth. It always seems to be the pressure is to come in and never to go out. So there is a growing...
But if this lady wants to live here...
Yeah, let me finish what I'm saying. That you have areas in Bradford, areas in Leeds, areas in London, which are developing almost a colony within the United Kingdom.
Colonies, Tony. Listen, the answer to your question is that's because the Tory party are making this such a wonderful country to live in. That's why they want to come here. We'll take a break, back in a few moments. Welcome back. Tonight the programme looks at the subject of immigration, and of course if you have any views you can always write to us. You know the address, it'll come up I'm sure a little later on. Now a fax that's come in from Tone Nolan from Bristol says, "Dear James and all who read this," remember this is a fax, "I only have my viewpoint to go on, but you are looking for it and before you have it." I don't understand that, but anyway. "If everyone were to be educated to the meanings of the 10 Commandments, none of these problems would be applicable." And I suppose to a certain extent you're absolutely right, really. If we you know, cannot have a problem, but we'd be okay. Let me come back over here, because Abu, you were talking about some of your friends that you've brought in here. Now this young lady, I've forgotten your name?
Lucky.
Lucky. Is not so lucky, because Lucky, her husband can't come in and join her. When he was interviewed, how many questions did they ask him?
They asked him about 100 to 140 questions.
Yeah.
And some of them, yes, they were all right. They were something to do with the immigration laws,
Yeah.
but some of them were totally nothing to do with the immigration laws. You were asked about the Cold War. What has the Cold War to do with the immigration laws?
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask, where is your husband at the moment?
He's in Bangladesh at the moment.
And when did you last see him?
October. Well.
But why don't you go and see him in Bangladesh and stay in
Because
Bangladesh?
I am a British citizen. I've been brought up in this country.
Yes, but he's a Bangladeshi citizen.
Yeah,
Why
but
don't you
I'm
go?
born in this country. I was born in
And
this.
where was he born?
He was born in Bangladesh.
Well, is it not their choice to live where they want to?
But
I've been brought up in this country.
Is it not their choice?
Personally, I've got sympathy for this particular case. But if you add all these cases together...
If you'd fallen in love with someone from North Korea, you wouldn't want to necessarily go and live in North Korea, would you?
Firstly, let me finish what I'm saying. But if I'd fallen in love with somebody and I was married to somebody,
Yeah,
I'd be with them, come hell or high water, wherever it was.
Just a minute. What you're trying to say is, you would say if this young lady isn't happy with it, she should bugger off and live somewhere else. She was born here. Why shouldn't her husband come here?
Well, why shouldn't she go to her husband? He was born there.
Watch my lips. Why shouldn't she be allowed to bring her husband here if she wishes
to? It may well be that she ought to be allowed to bring her husband there. I don't know the particular circumstances of the case.
Yeah.
And if she ought to be allowed to bring her husband here, he ought to be here now. But there might be reasons why she can't. There might be proper, legal, decent reasons why she can't bring her husband here. In which case,
it sounds
why
though,
doesn't she go to
there
Bangladesh?
aren't. Yeah. She doesn't want to. She wants to live here. Is there, Abu, yes?
I mean, what the whole issue highlights is basically everything the Tory party holds as, Victorian values seems to contradict in this issue. The reason why people like Lucky Ali, who wants to settle here, is because their families are here. It's not like someone marrying someone else in the next village is 5 miles away, so it doesn't matter where they live. You got a distance of 5,000.
So her husband's family is probably in Bangladesh.
What about some of my friends here? You obviously feel slightly differently to this, don't you? Because you're nice, upstanding white people, and you probably never have had anybody sort of sneer at you because of the colour of your skin.
Yeah,
maybe because of the pathetic look on some of your faces, but not the colour of your skin. Don't you understand how other people feel about this?
Well, I think, James, you've got to look at the situation fairly. I mean, we've had abuse from these people.
Ignore those people. They're unrepresented. Forget about them. They're not important.
Well, basically, my view is that immigration as a whole should stop completely. Be fair across the board. No more immigration, no more emigration.
Oh, get out of here. Don't be such an idiot. What a ridiculous thing. Why don't you go and live in some other dictatorship if you want to make sure that the people in the country don't have a freedom of movement? You move somewhere else and live there, for goodness sake.
You take me there, James.
I will probably pay for you to go there if you carry on the way you are. Ken, one thing that does concern me is that if perhaps that we were to sort of open the doors of this country and say anybody can come in and do whatever they like, wouldn't there be a terrific problem of maybe housing, social benefits, jobs?
No, we are the 6th richest nation in the world. The reason we've got no housing for a lot of people and high rate of unemployment is because the government chooses not to intervene in those things. These are completely separate issues. I think what we should be arguing is that one of the fundamental rights should be people's freedom to move around the world.
Can I ask Ken a question? Yes. Ken has met Yasser Arafat. I've met Yasser Arafat on many occasions. We probably agree on this particular issue.
I'll be very surprised, but
well, we probably do. At the moment, there are millions of Soviet Jews who want to come out of the Soviet Union. Fine, we agree with that. But a lot of them want to go to the West Bank. Do you agree that they should be allowed to go to the West Bank, Ken?
I believe any Soviet Jew should be free to leave the Soviet Union. But if they want to go and live in Israel,
should they be free to go to the West Bank?
The majority of Jews that are coming out of Russia want to come and live in Western Europe and America.
A lot of them are being directed to the West Bank. Why are they being directed?
Because they're not being given a free choice.
Let us move on slightly and see what some of our callers have to say tonight. David from Leicester. Hello, David.
Hello, James Well. I just want to say that I live in Leicester. There's a lot of immigrants in Leicester. And the people in Leicester, I mean, at first we disagreed with it, but now we've just come to accept it. I agree with what Ken Livingstone's saying, but he's such a puffer. I just don't want to listen to what he's saying. I just think he's, I mean, I agree, to some extent with what he's saying. But the other guy sitting next I just can't believe what that guy's saying.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Well, you're a very entertaining caller. It's lovely to hear from you. Let's talk to Mark from Essex. Hello, Mark.
Hi, James.
Yeah.
I think with all the invading we've done over the past centuries, I think really we're about due for a dose of our own medicine, really.
I don't think really, Mark, it's a question of medicine, is it really? It's a question of people getting on together. I mean, to be quite honest, apart from this rowdy bunch of students who probably don't have televisions and probably no heating in their homes outside and they want something to do on a night, the majority of people, I would have thought, can accept someone, whatever colour their skin is.
Sure, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think we ought to open up barriers to allow this sort of freedom of movement.
Yeah, OK. Mark, thank you very much indeed.
It's a question of numbers. At the levels we are at the moment, that's fine. We'll be able to develop OK. But if we get another 2, 3, 4 million people of different cultural backgrounds into this country, setting up colonies,
a good mix.
We've got to find mix. We've got to find mix.
There's the argument that the people from the British movement or whatever, or the Monday Club, or whatever, are saying that no one should be able to come here. That has a logic to it. The argument about different cultures is racist. I've been born and brought up in Lambeth. I now live in Cricklewood. These are multiracial areas. The people that live there, black and white, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, they get on all right.
Look at the Soviet Union.
It's the people that live there where there are no racial mixings live with fear, because people like you are going on about
nobody's going on about fear. Nobody's
cultural differences.
Nobody's against
fear. Come on, Tony, you do.
Look at the Soviet Union. Look at the Soviet Union.
Tony,
look at the republics in the Soviet Union.
You say
where
things
you've got
like
people from different cultures, different backgrounds,
and a multicultural society. Forced on. We're not going to have civil war here. If you didn't say some of the silly things you said, people would get on much better.
You might think they're silly, but 90% of the people out there take a different point of view. 90% of the people.
In that case, you're just pandering to the lowest common denominator to get votes.
It's not a question of pandering to the lowest common denominator. As a Democrat, one ought to take account of what people want. And 90%
Abu, let's have. Will you shut up a minute, Abu?
Why don't you come and live in my house for a week, and perhaps you would change your mind.
I'd change my mind.
You keep talking about
it's a very kind offer.
You're talking about colonies. I live in Bradford, a colony where there's black and white. I'm also a social worker. I work with black and white people. Perhaps you should try that, and perhaps you won't sound so silly.
You should do that. And we should actually have it on television, and you should see
what it's like. If you'll agree to do that, Tony, we'll film it, all right?
You can see other things.
I lived in a multiracial community all my life, and I have...
Just 1 minute. Let me have my friend sitting down here. Let me just have my friend sitting here. What movement was that?
Movement of people to different countries.
Yeah.
I happen to not mind black people or white coming for work in any country where they're not displacing, for example, in this country, white people, as long as they're not gaining all the full benefits which other people have earned. I'm not against people coming here for work, but not necessarily to live here.
I think this is perhaps a misunderstanding that a lot of people assume people emigrate to this country to get our social benefits. It's difficult enough for people here to get them.
But they probably do, don't they, undoubtedly.
The people that come here work.
They want to go back some, they don't go back a lot, don't want to go back some of them, because there's too much benefit. Some want to go back.
You're talking out of the top of your head.
No,
Mike, let me just come over to Mike. Do you find, Mike, that if your family, you still have family in Grenada, presumably, is it difficult for them to come in and visit you?
We haven't had many problems. We usually, whoever's coming in usually has to prove that they have enough money, actually cash pound notes.
I wonder if people actually know that if you have £150,000, you can come into this country.
Without too much difficulty. And I think this is what's happening with the Hong Kong people, that those who have got the money can come in, which is a ridiculous situation. Absolutely wrong.
Which Ken Livingstone's going to vote for?
No.
Well, that's what's going to be in the bill. That's what's going to be in the bill that you're going to vote for.
And I'm not going to go into the same lobby as you, because frankly, I think the government scheme is wrong, but I'm not going to vote for something that's even worse, which is no people coming here at all.
Well,
we have actually made vast profits out of Hong Kong.
In the
we broke into there, we actually opened up China, we forced them to take over. We have some responsibilities. And you wouldn't want to come under the Chinese regime. You wouldn't want to be forced to live under the people that slaughtered the students in Tiananmen Square.
Totally misunderstand the situation.
Okay, thank you for the moment. Unfortunately, as we're coming up to the end of the programme, there's one fact that I actually would like to read out here. It says, "Dear James, isn't it about time that people like yourself, me, woke up to the fact that the majority of white British people in this country are against more immigration into this country? Not on the basis of colour prejudice, but simply because we are the majority." Steve Finch, what a miserable sort of person you are. In fact, I don't really want you looking at this programme anymore, all right? People like you, Steve, I don't really want to have on the programme. I think we might say thank you very much indeed for everybody coming in. It would be so nice if people could sort of get on a little bit better together. One of the biggest problems that I've had is this continual yelling from these mindless, moronic idiots outside. And I apologise if you heard that and it disturbed your enjoyment of the programme. But next week, well, a programme with a difference. So for the moment, thank you very much indeed to my guests. I don't know whether Ken wants to come on next week's show. I'll ask him a little bit later on. From all of us, James Well, wishing you a very good night and have a nice weekend. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.